Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. If you are willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. The loveliest faces are to be seen by moonlight when one sees half with the eye and half with the fancy. Life is like perpetual drunkenness. The pleasure passes, but the headache remains. The wise man who does not put his knowledge into practices like a bee that gives no honey. If you tell the truth too early, you are laughed at. Too late, and you are stoned. Treats your superior as a father, your equal as a brother, and your inferior as a son. Solved riddles look easy. 1 hour per day of study in your chosen field is all it takes. 1 hour per day of study will put you at the top of your field within 3 years. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority. In 7 years, you can be one of the best people in the world at what you do. You can't escape death and guess. A blind man who sees is better than a sighted man who is blind. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn. The best memory is that which forgets nothing but injuries. We now accept the fact that learning is a lifelong process of keeping abreast of change, and the most pressing task is to teach people how to learn. Once a friend, always a friend. You don't understand anything until you learn it more than one way. In the end, we retain from our studies only that which we practically apply. Study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible. If you enter the city of the blind, cover your eyes. Our real grave is not in the ground, but in men's hearts. A beggar will always be a beggar, even if you give him the whole world. The needle makes clothes but stays naked. Research shows that you begin learning in the womb and go right on learning until the moment you pass on. Your brain has a capacity for learning that is virtually limitless, which makes every human a potential genius. Gold bears more gold. An arrow can be pulled out of a wound, but a hurtful word stays forever in your heart. Use your enemy's hand to catch a snake. The ability to speak exactly is intimately related to the ability to know exactly. A greedy man is always poor. He who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but does not learn is in great danger. Friendship with a fool may turn into a hug from a bear. You can teach a student a lesson for a day, but if you can teach him to learn by creating curiosity, he will continue the learning process as long as he lives. When the snake is old, the frog will tease him. When you are really thirsty, you don't desire a thousand pearls. One learns from books and example only that certain things can be done. Actual learning requires that you do those things. Spoon feeding in the long run teaches us nothing but the shape of the spoon. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. You don't put a wooden pot on the fire twice. When a cat wants to eat her kittens, she says they look like mice. There are 3 things that have to be done quickly: burying the dead, opening the door for a stranger, and fixing your daughter's wedding. The larger a man's roof, the more snow it collects. Write kindness in marble, write injuries in dust. To the ant, a few drops of dew are a flood. The purpose of learning is growth, and our minds, unlike our bodies, can continue growing as we continue to live. Death is a camel that lies down at every door. Study without desire spoils the memory, and it retains nothing that it takes in. Being a student is easy. Learning requires actual work. The pleasure of finding something is worth more than what you find. You can't pick up 2 melons with one hand. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. I am still learning. If you think education is expensive, try estimating the cost of ignorance. The great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. Recipes tell you nothing. Learning techniques is the key. You can't squeeze blood from a rock. Those people who develop the ability to continuously acquire new and better forms of knowledge that they can apply to their work and to their lives will be the movers and shakers in our society for the indefinite future. The purpose of education is to replace an empty mind with an open one. Cultivation to the mind is as necessary as food to the body. He who laughs most learns best. That is what learning is. You suddenly understand something you've understood all your life, but in a new way. 4 walls make a man free. The whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. Every act of conscious learning requires the willingness to suffer an injury to one's self-esteem. That is why young children, before they are aware of their own self-importance, learn so easily. In the hour of adversity, be not without hope. Bribery makes both parties happy. Change is the end result of all true learning. You can close the city gates, but you can't close the person's mouth. The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. Fear those who do not fear God. There is no end to education. It is not that you read a book, pass an examination, and finish with education. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. He who doesn't go to war roars like a lion. A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience. You cannot help but learn more as you take the world into your hands. Take it up reverently, for it is an old piece of clay with millions of thumbprints on it. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. The more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. Bravery without foresight is like a blind horse. The big drum only sounds well from a distance. Learning is not attained by chance. It must be sought for with ardor and attended with diligence. Everything is a learning experience. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. A pleasant voice brings a snake out of its hole. If knowledge is power, then learning is a superpower. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Education is the ability to listen to almost anything without losing your temper or your self-confidence. Doubts is the key to knowledge. A diamond fallen into a dunghill is no less precious. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. Necessity changes a lion into a fox. A man who asks is a fool for 5 minutes. A man who never asks is a fool for life. "That smells bad," said the cat about meat it cannot reach. 1 pound of learning could require an army of common sense to apply. Take care lest your tongue cut off your head. There is divine beauty in learning. To learn means to accept the postulate that life did not begin at my birth. Others have been here before me, and I walk in their footsteps. The guard's sleep is the lamplight of the thief. The way a house is decorated will tell much about its owner. An ungrateful son is a wart on his father's nose. He leaves it alone and it's ugly. He moves it and it hurts. A timely tear better than a misplaced smile. Learning is synthesizing seemingly divergent ideas and data. Luck is infatuated with the efficient. It is what we know already that often prevents us from learning. Thinking well is wise, planning well, wiser, but doing well is the wisest and best of all. I never learned from a man who agreed with me. The eyes can do 1,000 things that the fingers can't. Thinking is the essence of wisdom. With a sweet tongue of kindness, you can drag an elephant by a hair. Trust in God, but tie your camel tightly. The hand that gives is also the hand that receives. Learning is like rowing upstream. Not to advance is to drop back. Don't despise pepper because it is small eats, and see how pungent it is. One scabby goat infects the floor. Little by little, the wool becomes a carpet. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. I am always ready to learn, although I do not always like being taught. A sword in the hands of a drunken slave is less dangerous than science in the hands of an immoral man. Experience is a comb that nature gives to men when they are born. Never open the door that you can't lock again. The best instruction is to practice what you preach. Maturity comes from wisdom, not in the passing of years. In this world, generous people have no money, and those with money are not generous. When its time has come, the prey goes to the hunter. Water, long stagnant, becomes putrid. One sin is too much, 100 prayers not enough. The most useful piece of learning for the uses of life is to unlearn what is untrue. Curiosity is the wick in the candle of learning. You cannot hang everything on one nail. Look in the sky, not in the pond, to find the moon. You don't learn to walk by following rules. You learn by doing and by falling over. The expert in anything was once a beginner. All the world is my school, and all humanity is my teacher. Listening to good advice is the way to wealth. God gives to us according to the measure of our hearts. He who wants a rose must respect the thorn. The world is a rose. Smell it and pass it on to your friends. Every man goes up, his death, bearing in his hands only that which he has given away. He whose heart is aroused by love will never die. Women always cheat on men who have large, unsightly lips. Do not use words that are too big for your mouth. The greatest teacher, failure is. If you have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. No problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. Do not cut down the tree that gives you shade. Habits are first cobwebs, then cables. Never let formal education get in the way of your learning. True teachers are those who use themselves as bridges over which they invite their students to cross. Then, having facilitated their crossing, joyfully collapse, encouraging them to create their own. The arrow that has left the bow never returns. A stone thrown at the right time might be better than gold given at the wrong time. While yearning for excess, we lose necessities. Debts are like women. Once you have them, you can't get rid of them. Drawn wells have sweetest water. The earth is a host who kills his guests. Education without application is just entertainment. The most important attitude that can be found is the desire to go on learning. Knowledge, like air, is vital to life. Like air, no one should be denied it. Learn continually. There's always one more thing to learn. The night hides world, but reveals the universe. What we learn with pleasure, we never forget.